Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna consciousness is simple and sublime, but it is not by any means cheap. Nowadays, everybody wants something quick and cheap. You want a McDonald's hamburger, order of fries and a soda. So if we want something cheap, Srila Prabhupada explains, then that's what we'll get, something cheap. But if we want, let's say, a college education, we understand that so much effort is required. We need to find the right textbooks. We need to find the right teachers, the right school. We need to study and put so much time and effort into acquiring a college education and our degree. Marriage, we understand. It's a lifelong commitment. It's a very important commitment. But love of God, well, that's another thing. We say we love God, but let's say we become infatuated with someone. We spend some time with that individual, and then, due to unavoidable circumstances, we have to go to work, whatever comes up, we become separated. And then we cannot get that person out of our mind for a moment. But the one that we love, this is not just an infatuation, someone we just meet. The one we love, how often are we even thinking about him? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when his son, who later became known as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur, was just a little boy, he told his son that he needs to take initiation. Now, the relationship with the spiritual master, that's eternal. So we can imagine how much more important that is than even the decision to get married, which is a lifelong commitment. He told his son that he has he had this disciple named Gauranga Das Babaji. And he told his son, this is who you need to take initiation from. So he instructed his boy to go to Gauranga Das Babaji and request initiation. So duty bound, the boy went to Gauranga Babaji and humbly submitted his plea. My dear Gauranga Das Babaji, my father has advised me to take initiation from you, so I have come to request initiation. Will you accept me? And Gauranga Das Babaji looked at him and he said, no, I will not. So the boy returned to his father and told Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur that Gauranga Das Babaji will not accept me. So Srila Bhaktivinoda looked very sternly at his boy and he told him that the reason that he will not accept you is obviously because you are not sincere enough to be accepted. You must return to Gauranga Das Babaji and convince him of your sincerity. So he returned. And he was so sincere. He explained, I understand how important the relationship between the disciple and the spiritual master is. And I'm willing to submit to your authority. My father, he is a pure devotee of Krishna, and he knows that you are the most qualified individual to be my spiritual master. And I humbly submit my plea, please accept me as your disciple. Gauranga Das Babaji looked at him again, and he said, no, I will not accept you. And by this time, the boy is so sincere, tears are flowing from his eyes. And he returned to his father crying. This time, when he returned, his father looked at him very sternly, and he told the boy, you should rather die than not be sincere enough to be accepted for initiation by Gauranga Das Babaji. This time, instead of returning to Gauranga Das Babaji, this boy went to the nearest bridge, and he was preparing to jump off that bridge and take his life when, by the divine grace of the Supreme Lord, Gauranga Das Babaji shows up and asks him, what are you doing? And he said that I understand how important initiation is, and therefore, because you will not accept me, I am going to take my life. And then Gauranga Das Babaji looked at him and he said, now you are ready for initiation. Spiritual life is compared to a razor's edge. Just like when we're shaving, if we're not 100% attentive, we get cut. Blood flows. Vyavasayatmika Buddhir. It's explained in the scriptures by the saints and the spiritual masters that our attentiveness to our development in spiritual life needs to be fixed, pinpointed, focused, determined. When the Pandavas were children, they had lost a ball in a well, and they were all very perplexed, trying to figure out, how do we get the ball out of the well? And as they were trying to figure that out, Dronacharya shows up for the first time, and he laughs. He can foresee that these boys are the great heroes of the Battle of Kurukshetra. And he says, just see, the great heroes have lost their little ball in the well. So he tells them to stand back, and he withdraws an arrow from the quiver. And he fires it at the ball in the well, and then immediately fires another arrow into the end of that arrow, and then another, and another, and another, and another, until he creates a whole string of arrows, and then pulls the ball out of the well and hands it to the boys. And then instructs them, now you go and tell your grandfather Bhishma that your teacher has arrived. Later on, after they grew up, he took them and Duryodhana, who he was also teaching, to a forest. And he called Duryodhana, come forth. Off in the distance, he told him, I placed an artificial bird in the tree. Then he asked, do you see the bird? Duryodhana replied, yes, master, I see the bird. Then he asked Duryodhana, what else do you see? And Duryodhana very proudly proclaimed, I see the tree the bird is standing on. I see the leaves and the branches of the tree. I see the forest surrounding the tree. I see the brook off in the distance. Sit down, Duryodhana tells him. Dronacharya. Then he calls Yudhishthira Maharaja. Come, Yudhishthira. What do you see? Yudhishthira explains that, dear Guru Maharaj, I too am seeing the bird, the tree, the forest, and the babbling brook. Oh, Yudhishthira, sit down. Then he calls his favorite disciple, Arjuna, come. What do you see? Arjuna says, I see the bird. Yes, yes. What else do you see? Guru Maharaj, I do not see anything else. You? You do not see anything else? How is it you do not see anything else? Describe the bird to me. Arjuna says, I cannot. Why? Why you cannot describe the bird? He said, because Guru Maharaj, all I see is the eye of that bird. Fire your arrow! Vyavasayatmika Buddhir, fixed, pinpointed, focused attentiveness. That is how we should live our lives. Like at any moment, we could die because it can happen. And then what will become of us? Throughout life, we're always making so many plans, always preparing for what we're planning on doing. And sometimes we plan on moving to a different residence. So we carefully make so many plans for that. But who is planning, who is preparing for the inevitable occurrence of the time of death when we have to leave this body? Who is planning on solving the problems of material existence, this material world that we've come to is described as padam padam yadvi padam natesham, a place of misery where there is danger at every step. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj has stated that it is no place for a gentleman. The miseries that inevitably accompany material existence are described as Adhyatmika, Adhibautika, and Adhidaivika. Miseries coming from the mind, the body, other living entities, and natural disturbances. So we need to solve these inevitable problems that accompany material existence by preparing never to return to this horrible place